Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It is time to film my wrap-up for the month of January, and as always we will start with some quick stats for the month and then we will go into individual book reviews. Now, if you've been following my channel for a long time, you probably know that last year my goal was to reach a 0 TBR. That didn't quite happen, however, I did reach some really big milestones. And so for this year, my goal is just to basically keep the TBR number low. Now, as I always say, January is my birthday month, so it's not like the perfect time to have a small TBR, but throughout the rest of the year, I want to slowly chip away at the number again to keep it reasonable. And reasonable for me means that I get around to reading the books I acquire within about a year at the most, because I really want to have a quick turnaround of books that I receive and buy so I don't lose interest in them. So we started out the year with 23 books on the TBR, and now we're gonna look at how that developed in January. So the first important number for this matter is the number of books that I have finished in January, and I finished reading 7 books in January. And then we have the number of books that I have bought and received. Now, I did get quite a few birthday books. I hauled 10 birthday books, but I even did get a few more books. So in January, I acquired 16 books in total. There was also a little Libro FM sale incident in there as well. So yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. Then for the number of books that I have borrowed in January, I do not have any books that I borrowed to read from the library. Last but not least, an important number is also the number of rereads that I did, because rereads don't actually reduce my TBR number, and I reread 3 books in January. So you can already guess that this number is going to be a little bit scary. So yeah, let's close our eyes. Take a deep breath, and then I'm gonna tell you. If we take it all together, I have 7 books read, 16 books hauled, 3 rereads. I have added 12 books to the TBR. So for the end of January, my TBR number has climbed up to 35, which is a bit of a scary number. Under 30 is definitely where I feel more comfortable. Like in the 10s and 20s would be very nice. So starting now, we have to work on reducing that number again. I don't feel too bad about that, because as I said, this is what always happens. I have Christmas, I have my birthday, the TBR number goes up, and then I have a whole year to read those books that I'm very excited about reading. And then I also wanted to mention that January was the first month that I did a TBR video for the month. I had 7 books on my January TBR. Now, you might think if I read 7 books, then those were probably the TBR books, but you would be wrong. However, I did read 5 of the 7 books on my January TBR. So I think that's still pretty good. And now with the numbers out of the way, let's talk about these books. And I think instead of doing this chronologically, I will do the audiobooks first so I don't forget about them, and then we will talk about the physical reads, because all of the physical reads were one series. So the first audiobook I finished was Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. I really like starting out my listening year with a T. Kingfisher book, because I always know I will enjoy it. In this one, we do have kind of a Snow White retelling where we follow our main character, who is a healer, and especially she is like into antidotes and curing poisonings. And one day the king of the land shows up in her little workshop, and he tells her that she is to come to the castle and figure out what is wrong with his daughter Snow, because the king thinks that Snow is being poisoned. So our main character is going with the king, and she is trying to figure out what's happening snow is not quite the poisoning that she expected, and this leads her onto quite the dangerous adventure. Now, if you do know T. Kingfisher books, they do have a very particular writing style that you will find here as well. She does like to write about older female main characters, which we also have in this book, with a main character who I think might be in her 40s or something like that. So that is very much appreciated too, because this is kind of like a type of main character we don't see too often in fantasy books. And yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I like kind of the snark of T. Kingfisher books, but I also felt like this one had quite some creepy moments as well. We do enter into a different world, and I thought that definitely had some spooky vibes, and there was definitely some danger and intrigue as well. We also have a little romance as a side plot in this book, and it did surprise me a little bit. It didn't quite go the way that I thought it would at the beginning, but I did end up really enjoying the romance as well. So in the end, I gave this book 4 stars, and I can't wait for my next T. Kingfisher read. Unfortunately, my next audiobook wasn't quite the same level of success, because next I listened to Can't Spell Treason Without T by Rebecca Thorne. This is a cozy fantasy, and it is often mentioned as the perfect books for fans of Legends and Lattes, and I absolutely loved Legends and Lattes, so I had my eye on this book for a while. But in this one, we do follow 2 female main characters who are already in established relationship. We do have a mage. She's basically the most powerful mage of this world, and with that she has a lot of responsibilities, and a lot of like people are looking up to her and asking for her help. And then also we have a woman who is the bodyguard or the head of the guard for a very, very evil queen. And that was an aspect of the story I did not like. So I basically had issues with both of these main characters. For one, kind of their position in the world and the way they perceive it. Like, this guard main character knows how horrible this queen is that she's protecting with her life, and she is killing people in the name of this queen, and is going about that in a very not reflecting way until like something happens that is like very personal to her, and then she's like, oh my god, I can't do this anymore. And yeah, it's and then the mage character is always like super annoyed that people need her help. Like, she's going around being like, oh, people should solve their own problems, but it's like problems like some kind of like magical creatures attacking villagers, and she's asked to like defeat them. And it's, yeah. And then we have the whole like dragon plotline, and some things that are sad about the dragons, and that they're basically like very smart, like sentient beings, but then we also have to fight them because they don't understand any other language than violence. I'm like, this is cozy to you? Like, this is cozy? So yeah, I really did not like this book very much, unfortunately, and I had a very hard time finishing it, and I was very glad when it was done. So in the end, I gave this one 3 stars, and I was being a little bit generous with that. And then the last audiobook I finished it on my birthday, which was just perfect because I had a very good time with this one. And that was Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. So this is a book where, you know, last year everyone has been obsessed with this series, and I felt like I was really missing out. I had owned this audiobook for a few months now, but yeah, it just never felt like the right time. But then around the time of my birthday, I was like, I think I want to listen to Dungeon Crawler Carl now. I think I'm ready to be obsessed. So I started this book. We are following Carl, who is a normal human living his life, and he is kind of taking care of his now ex-girlfriend's cat, Donut. And in the middle of the night, when he just wants to have a smoke, Donut jumps out of the window and does not come back in. The problem is Donut is a like very special cat that has like one competitions and stuff. So she's very valuable, and the ex-girlfriend will not be happy if anything happens to her. So Carl grabs like a bathrobe and slips into his ex-girlfriend's like clogs or whatever these shoes are called, and he runs outside to get the cat. And then the moment he is outside, an alien apocalypse happens, and basically everyone who has been inside a building is immediately killed. And so he and the cat are now out in the street in the middle of the night. It's freezing cold, and there is this announcement that these staircases will open, and everyone who goes down this staircase will enter the dungeon crawl. And because it's cold, they do, and they end up in the dungeon, and now they basically have to fight through these different levels of the dungeons to stay alive. And I had such a good time with this audiobook. I think, for one, unfortunately, like, these audiobooks are only available on Audible, which is very, very sad, but they are fantastic audiobooks. So if you have any chance to get them, I always wait for these 99-cent deals where you get 3 months of Audible for 99 cents, and then I will like sign up for that and immediately cancel after those 3 months, and then I have like 3 credits to spend on the Call series. I know it's dumb, but that's just how I do it, because I really don't want to support Jeff Bezos at all. Like, at all. Do we even need to mention the whole like Melania debacle? It's awful. So that man does not deserve our money. Stay away if you can. But these audiobooks are they are unfortunately very, very good. So we do have these audiobooks with the like, I can't tell you, like, after I finished listening to this audiobook, I went onto YouTube Studio, and it had this new achievement thing, and like my brain immediately read it like the audiobook would read it, like, new achievement. And I was like, oh my god, this is terrible. So yeah, it definitely went into my brain, and I can totally see why people are so obsessed with it. I think this book manages to balance kind of the horror of the world literally ending with kind of humor, and with Carl also being a very capable person, and it makes sense why he would be a capable person. And then also he has this treat that basically makes Donut into an active player as well. So she can talk and she can level up as well. And I love Donut. I have heard people say that they think she's annoying, and you know, as the #1 cat lady, I do not agree. Donut is perfect. Donut is absolutely perfect, and I will die on that hill. I think they're just such a great duo to follow through this dungeon. But we do have like very sad moments in there as well. We do have the very different characters they meet along the way, and yeah, I will definitely continue on with the series, and I can't wait. I gave this book 4 stars because I just wanted to have some room, because I've heard these sequels just keep getting better. And now that we have made it through the audiobooks, let's talk about the series I have read and reread in January, and that is the Nevermoor series by Jessica Townsend. Now, last year, finally, the 4th book in this series came out, Silverborn, and I was so excited about it. I had been waiting for that book for multiple years, and I knew to get like the full effect, I wanted to reread all the Nevermoor books. They're just so special to me, and I love them. So I actually started out the year with my reread of Nevermoor, The Trials of Morgan Crow. This is the first book in this middle grade series where we follow a young girl called Morgan Crow who is cursed, and she has always been told that she will die on her 12th birthday. However, something happens, things go very, very wrong, and it seems that actually she might pass away on her 11th birthday already. However, in that night, like when she's basically having her last supper with her family, who are very terrible people, by the way, this mysterious man called Jupiter North shows up, and he's like, hey, if you come with me, I can take you away to safety, and you will live. And because Morgan doesn't like her family and she's about to die. She goes with him. So this is how Morgan gets to Nevermoor, a magical world that she never even knew existed. And in this new world, she has to enter some trials to become a member of the Wondrous Society. Now, what I forgot about this book, and I found really interesting when rereading this, is that Morgan is actually illegally in Nevermoor because, yeah, Jupiter does some things to get her into this country, and because of that, there is actually like border patrol agents who are after her, like especially one person who is very nasty, very terrible, and Morgan is clearly like very, very afraid. And you know, having border patrol agents going after children in that way, it hits different in 2026. I'm just gonna say it. So yeah, 5 stars on the reread. I love how magical these books are. I love the characters. I love the hotel where Morgan ends up living with Jupiter. It's just perfect. This is a perfect book for me. So then I immediately went into Wundersmith. This is the calling of Morgan Crow. And in this one, we do follow Morgan's journey some more. In this one, we learn more about the powers that Morgan has, kind of the magical being she is that she didn't even know about, but now she starts her journey to like really become that. And this book, again, is like very, very heartbreaking because a lot of people are kind of afraid of what she is. And that's like adult people who treat a child like she is a criminal because they are scared. And it's so disgusting. Like, the first half of this book is so hard to read because of how terrible Morgan is treated by some of these grown-up people. And yeah, it's great. It's great, and again, I love how creative and magical this book is. I love how Morgan really goes onto this journey to find herself and her strength, and 5 stars. Third book is Hollowpox. Now, this was my first time rereading Hollowpox. I read it when it came out. I read it in 2021, so when we were in lockdown. And it was a very unique experience reading this book because this one also has a lockdown. The Hollowpox, might guess, is a sickness that is going around, and at some point in the book there are lockdown rules. So it was really hard to read that in lockdown, and this book was written before 2020. So I was so astonished how much of kind of the pandemic thing Jessica Townsend got right in this book, and it felt like a book for that moment. Now, rereading it, I still enjoyed it a lot, but it was still really hard to read, but from a different point of view in a way, because we do have also a more political aspect to Hollowpox than the other 2 books. This one is not so much about how people are horrible towards Morgan, but towards a certain group within the Nevermoorian society, and that is the Vunimals. So that's basically people that have like the physical characteristics of animals. So in this world, we have a separation between Wunimals and animals. And the animals is just what we would consider an animal, and the Vunimals, there are majors and minors. Majors basically look like they are an animal, but they are, you know, they have the conscience of people, the brains of like normal people, and the minors do have some physical characteristics of animals. And yeah, the hate against this group, the way this is portrayed, the way they are marginalized, is very hard to read about again in 2026. We're still here. We're still here. So yeah, 5 stars again, but definitely tricky to get through that. And I needed some deep breath in between that. And then finally, I got to read my most anticipated book, Silverborn. And we need to take a moment to talk about this book. I think this is a fantastic book. I don't think it is a fantastic sequel in the Nevermoor series. Let me explain. So, in this book, we do not really follow up the plot of Hollowpox. Like, it feels like it never happened in a way. And that was very strange to me. The way we go into this book, it just felt strange. Now, one of the things that felt very off to me is that Sophia is such an important character in Hollowpox, and she is just gone. She's gone. There's not a single mention of her in this whole book. And it would have been kind of okay for me if there would have been like one line about maybe her going somewhere else to like deal with what happened to her. But no, she's just gone from the story. And I do not understand. Like, it just felt weird. And then also, we talked about so much discrimination and hate in that book. And in this one, it does get mentioned a little bit, but it's like so not important to anything going on in this book that it just felt a bit off. Also have some new kind of like writing devices in this book. Like at the beginning of the book, we do get a chapter from a character that we have never met before and will probably never meet again. And that is already a little bit in the future of this story. And that has never happened before in a Nevermoor book, and I don't want to say like she's not allowed to do that, but it was just a bit weird to me because it was so unexpected, and I was like, who is this person? Like, what's going on? Then there's also a little bit of a red herring in that first chapter where you think something might happen to a certain character, but it's not. Like, it's very obvious that that is not what's going on. So yeah, I don't know how I felt about that. When we get into the nitty-gritty of what Silverborn is actually about, and you have to read the subtitle for that, The Mystery of Morgancrow. This is a murder mystery book, and for that, I really enjoyed it. I think that Jessica Townsend is very, very clever about the book, or about the way she wrote this as a murder mystery. Obviously, there's still stuff going on the sides. I do really like what is happening with the whole Squall storyline. I don't want to say too much for spoiler reasons, but I like it. I like it very much. I like it very much. Intriguing, very intriguing, and I desperately need more of that. In this book, Morrigan learns a lot about her extended family that she had no idea about. And Morgan's family is messy, you guys. It's messy. This book also deals with aristocrats, and that was interesting, but I gotta be honest, I do not care about rich people stuff. And there was quite a lot of rich people stuff in here. Now, what I do want to say is that this book really, really reminded me of kind of like Bridgerton. It's like Bridgerton, but in Nevermore. And it was really fun. That was really fun. That was really fun. So if you take kind of like Bridgerton, you take a little bit of Nevermore magic, and you take murder mystery, like traditional Agatha Christie style murder mystery, and you smoosh that together. You get Silverborn. And I do think it's very smart. I do think it's very fun. I read the last 260 pages of this just yesterday because it is very easy to lock into the mystery and then just fly through this book. So because of that, I still gave it 5 stars. I think it's like a very, very good book. I did like seeing a little bit more of cadence in this one, even though I feel like it still wasn't enough for what I wanted. And we do not get enough of what makes this series great. I really missed the hotel in this one. I missed the characters of the hotel in this one. And it just felt like we were kind of like opening up this completely different door in Morrigan's life and spending time with that whole situation. And we kind of left all of the things we already love about Nevermore behind. in a way. So I'm really intrigued to see where the series will go next. This was a fun installment and it did give me some things I really wanted to see, but also it just didn't give me enough of things I wanted to see in a way. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. As I said, I still love the book. I just don't know if this was the sequel I was hoping for. So I hope that made sense. I'm sorry, this was a little bit long and rambly, but I really wanted to try to put it into words. The way Jessica Townsend played with some of the murder mystery tropes as well, especially at the end, was really fun, really great. I'm very happy that we got this book, and I can't wait for book 5, but I will wait for book 5. So these were the books that I managed to finish in January. Now let's hope that February will be just as good a reading month, because I gave a lot of these books very high ratings. I had a good start to the year. All of the books I read were fantasy books as well, which definitely scratched an itch for me because I read not enough fantasy at the end of 2025. And yeah, I had a good time. Let me know what was your favorite read of January. I would love to hear about that in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to see more videos from me. I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!